probably my calorie intake back in the day when I was, but I understand it's a lot of empty bad calories because I used to just eat whatever I wanted in massive amounts. So I'd probably say somewhere around 13 to 18,000 calories a day. You know, like you get Big Macs. You know, I get 3 or 4 Big Macs, and I get fries, and I get a shake, and get apple pies, and probably a fish sandwich in there too. Or, you know, it was nothing to go to Taco Bell and get like 20 tacos.
Now, next month, All Elite Wrestling is coming to Wembley Stadium. It's the biggest wrestling event held in the UK since WWE. SummerSlam was at the old Wembley in 1992. Last report, I said, so they've sold 77,000 tickets. If they sell 10k more tickets, it will be a world record for a wrestling event. And joining us now is one of AEW's biggest stars and WWE legend.
Well, it's a big show. Oh, it's a big bad show tonight.
Oh, new music.
New music. Oh man, we gotta dig up the new music.
Well, he's the 2-time WC World Heavyweight Champion, 4-time WWE World Champion, WWE Grand Slam Champion. That's right, wrestling legend Paul Wight, formerly known as The Big Show. He joins us now, and you're a big part of AEW. Paul, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm a huge fan. Grew up watching you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. You keep playing all that old material with the WWE owns. You guys are going to get me sued. They own the intellectual property rights to that.
I'm not going to point the finger at anybody, but it's Ollie. Sat there.
Hey,
Ollie,
Ollie,
in the blue shirt.
Go jump out the window. Thanks.
We'll get the new stuff. Let's get the new stuff for Paul.
Hopefully they'll be a little bit graceful, understand I didn't play in this. This is on you guys. So there you go.
Look, Paul, it's a massive event coming over to Wembley Stadium.
Super excited about it. Yeah.
And talk me through the growth of AEW.
Well, I mean, we're a relatively new company. We've been around just a few years, but we've had a lot of support and a lot of growth, and we've had great leadership with Tony Khan. And that's how you get anything going. You got to have somebody that understands the product and has the willingness to invest in the talent and invest in the growth. And I've seen AEW since I've been there for 2 years. Coming out of the COVID pandemic when I started with them, and just how they're growing, what they're doing, and the way they're going, the talent they're building. They've got some. It's an incredible time for wrestling fans right now. I think I'm surprised a lot for a company as relatively new as AEW is to do the incredible TV ratings that we're doing here in the UK. I mean, massive TV numbers. So that right there shows that people want a different choice of product. And that's the thing that's exciting for talent as well. Because it's tough as a talent to make a connection with your audience. So you have to have a platform and the availability to do that. And when you have two great companies that are vying and competing against each other like WWE and AEW, then it's a great opportunity for the talent. And it's always great, and Vince will be the first one to say this as well, competition makes you better. Yeah. So we're working our way up to be stiff competition, we hope.
I mean, obviously you as a legend on the WWE, AEW, on course to become as big as the WWE, you'd hope?
Well, you know, I think we're on a steady growth program for what we're doing right now. Again, you can't really compare the two with the legacy and the history and the, you know, years that WWE already has invested. But what you can do is look at our brand, our AEW brand, the talent that we're creating, the product that we're bringing in. It's a different product, and you know, and the fans make the ultimate choice at the end of the day. But the more chances we get to get outside the U.S. to come to our markets where our television is strong in the UK, and start expanding from there, I think there's a good opportunity, and there's enough fans in the world that I think there's room for us to become very successful. And that's the difference with AEW too, is AEW is not the family empire. So there's a lot more freedom that we have in AEW for experimentation and to grow from that. And I think that looser environment is very creative for the talent.
And what about yourself, Paul? Obviously, we know in sport, class is permanent. And you're 51 now.
Yeah.
Have you still got
that
it?
up.
Have you still got it?
Have I still got it? I wouldn't say I still got it. I got enough. You know. At this stage of the game, for me, where I'm at in my career, I'm not trying to win championships or carry companies. I mean, I did, you know, over 20 years at 5 days a week all over the world. You know, I think now if I do, you know, 1 or 2 days a week is just about enough for me right now.
You get injuries?
Injuries,
obviously.
yeah. I've had tons of injuries. And it's been funny for me because, like, throughout most of my career, I was pretty much injury-free. But, you know, if you've been around athletes, you play anything long enough, eventually the bill comes due. So my bill came due around 2018. I've had left hip replaced, right hip replaced, and I just had my left knee replaced this past August. So, and I've got range of motion. I'm still doing it. I work out in the ring in Florida. I've been hitting the ring about 3 times a week and going to the gym and doing all that stuff. So the only difference is now is I'm a little bit more judicious in my choices. You know, I'm pretty sure you won't see my big ass going to the top rope anymore because I have learned through my years that I have no business being up there. So I just keep my feet on the ground. Now in my 20s, you couldn't tell me that, but now I'm like, yeah, keep your big ass on the mat and just entertain the fans and have fun. And that's what it is at this stage of the game for me, is having fun, trying to pass some of that knowledge down to some of the younger generations and inspiring confidence and passion in them. Because that's one thing you want to do as much. You know, a lot of people say they love the business, but if you truly love anything, you give back. And you want the business to be better shape, better trained talent, better thinking talent than when you came in.
Paul, I grew up as a huge wrestling fan. I remember watching loads of your fights, and I was mesmerised by it all. It was brilliant. I love the entertainment of it. It's still huge now. I mean, I was talking to my kids earlier, saying that I'm going to be interviewing the Big Show later on, and they know who you are. It's going on to another generation now, and wrestling's kind of almost getting its popularity back, I feel.
Wrestling is cyclical. It's funny because, I was just telling one of the guys in the car, John, who's the rep that came over with me, John Schneider. I said, I remember for a period of about 4 years in what they call the Attitude Era, when WCW and WWE were competing, and after WWE sort of won that war, we went 3.5 years with no comps available. Just with the brand name itself being advertised, we'd sell out. But back then, you had Rock versus Stone Cold, Taker versus Kane, Triple H versus Mick Foley, APA versus New Age Outlaws, Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Brothers, Big Show versus Mark Henry, or Viscera in a body slam match. Like, there was a whole entire card full of Hall of Fame talent, but all those talents back then were Hall of Fame. They just had made a connection with the audience. So you see that now, especially here with our TV presence. We haven't advertised one single match for the show at Wembley. This is on the brand recognition of AEW alone and the strength of our television here in the UK in the AEW brand. The fans know, we know we're going to see a great match. We know we're going to see some great AEW stars. And guys and gals that will be down the road, they will be legends and household names. I mean, you can see it. I mean, we've got some incredible talent. You look at MJF, who's one of the most brilliant heels I've seen in I don't know how long on the microphone. He's talented in the ring. You've got Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page and Wardlow and Jade Cargill and Dr. Britt Baker. And there's so much talent in AEW that is just bubbling. It's like you're cooking a good stew and you see the bubbles here and there. From my perspective, I enjoy it because I see everywhere I see is that potential for these people to break out and become household names.
Paul, I've got to ask you, growing up in the WWE, some of the matchups that you obviously used to get involved in, legends of the sport, you're one of them, absolutely. But I
think I've just survived by attrition. I think because I came around when Hulk and Randy towards the end of their careers, and I was young then. I was the youngest whippersnapper by 10, 12 years, and now I've just been through everybody, so I've hung around. So I'm like that guy in the office that they fired and nobody would tell him he's fired. I still hang around. In
terms of matchups, Stone Cold Steve Austin,
right.
What was the one that sticks out in the memory bank for you as an athlete doing it?
There's a couple of bouts. I mean, I've been fortunate enough, really, if I sit back and I think that they've tried to talk me into writing a book a couple of times, but I don't think I want to sit down and digest the enormity of all the amazing people I've had a chance to work with because I'm still in it. I don't want to go into Hall of Fames yet. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff because in my mind, I'm still a competitor. And as an athlete, you have to be focused in where you are right now today. That other stuff, accolades and all that other stuff can come later. But to think about all the amazing people I've been in the ring with, from Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Sting, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Lex Luger. And then you roll into WWE, Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker, Kane, Mick Foley, Triple H, John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton. Wow. These are all guys, Edge, Christian. I mean, these are all guys that I've had feuds with, that I've spent so much time with, Brock Lesnar. And then you go to, like, I go to my guys that are kind of my personal favorites. I mean, of course, I owe everything to Hulk. Hulk's the one that found me. Hulk's the one that gave me my first match. He took a hell of a risk on me to take someone as unknown as I was and as big as I was and give me that opportunity. He put me in the sink or swim. I went right into the frying pan right off the bat. The guys I had fun with, like I had a lot of fun working with John Cena. I never had any stress with John Cena ever. There was never any any controversy over who I was or who he was. We always did great business all over the world together. And it was, there's a saying in our business, it's a night off. It means the guy you work with was so easy to work with. And that was John. I mean, John would start off, he'd, a couple of punches, do a shive and shoulder tackle, get flattened, get his ass kicked the whole match, and at the end he'd pick me up and give me an AA, or he'd get chokeslammed. I mean, it was super easy. And then you go with the guys like, one of my favorite feuds was with Sheamus over here, because and all over, like Sheamus did a title run over here. We did a bar brawl in Birmingham, where I had my first most delicious concoction I've ever had in my life. I had a beef pie with a gravy in it, and I remember I took 2 bites out of it and ordered another one before the lady could leave. I was like, I'll take one more. Like, I mean, it was beautiful. It's the greatest thing ever invented. I'll say that much. Because as bad a rap as people give English people about, their food being bland. Yeah. Well, then you're not going to the right places then.
That's what I always say.
I've had some stuff over here. I'm just fortunate, and tag partners. I mean, I tagged with Chris Jericho, was probably one of my favorite tag partners for when we were Jericho Show. Chris was great because Chris was always the political strategist in our matches. He handled all the creativity and the giving and the taking of putting a match together. And I said, well, what are we doing? Just great. You'll knock him out. I'll cover him. I was like, okay, cool. That's all I had to know.
Paul, look, you started your pro wrestling career 30 years ago, and I've got to ask you some questions about your wrestling, first of all.
All right, let's hope I remember.
Some quick fire rounds here. Who's the strongest guy you've ever faced in the ring?
I get asked that question a lot, and I break it down into different fields. To give you one answer would be unfair. Strongest mechanically, functionally guy, John Cena is one of the strongest I've ever been in the ring with. Like when John Cena picked me up, I felt like I was on a concrete platform. As far as overall the most powerful human being I've ever met in my life, Mark Henry, hands down. Mark Henry can do things that just aren't physically possible. Explosive power that it's almost frightening to see somebody that strong move that quick. Yeah, Brock Lesnar. And Goldberg back in the heyday, Goldberg used to stack me for that standing suplex. He would stack me for that suplex like it was like he'd do it all day. So those guys are right up there. And there's guys in there with like Kane was extremely powerful, and there's a lot of guys in this business that you feel safe when you're in their arms because they're powerful enough. Even when I was 500 pounds, I knew that I was being handled safely.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Show doesn't do you justice. I just had a picture with you there, and I mean, you're 7 foot.
Well, I'm almost as big as I used to be now. I used to run around like 490 all the time, so I'm about 405 right now. So
I can't imagine anybody picking you up above their
well,
head.
Let's
John Senior.
Let's clarify that in an environment where I'm going along with the program. Yes, but. There were a couple guys that if they got under me, they could probably pick me up whether I want them to or not. John Cena would be one, Brock would be one, Mark Henry would be one. Those 3 guys, if they grabbed a hold of you and really wanted to pick you up, you're going to go for a ride.
Yeah. At your biggest, how much were you eating every day?
How much was I eating? 2 or 3 deep fried little people. No. It's always a terrible joke. Probably my calorie intake back in the day when but I understand it's a lot of empty bad calories because I used to just eat whatever I wanted in massive amounts. So I'd probably say somewhere around 13 to 18,000 calories a day.
Mm.
Like you get Big Macs. I get 3 or 4 Big Macs, and I get fries, and I get a shake, and get apple pies, and probably a fish sandwich in there too. Or, it was nothing to go to Taco Bell and get like 20 tacos, and you can do that when you're younger and you're still going to be big, but as you get older, you realize like, oh well, I can't really eat like that anymore.
Yeah, can't move.
Now I kind of feel like I eat like a mouse. I have about 10 ounces of protein. I have a small portion of carb and some veg.
Yeah.
Try to eat halfway decent.
So when you were growing up, how did you get into wrestling?
I was a basketball player to start with. I went to college at Wichita State and played basketball. I was a outstanding high school basketball player, and the wrestling came about after about a year and a half of 2 years of just one tragic event after the other. I lost my father, I lost my grandfather, I lost my father to cancer. My coach at Wichita State, Mike Cohen, that recruited me through high school, he got fired halfway through the season, so I lost my coach. So 3 very influential men in a young man's life I lost. Quit school. I didn't like the new coach that came in. Nothing against him. I'm sure he's a great guy, but just I didn't feel like we clicked. Started just meandering around. I was selling used cars. I was working as a bouncer. Did some bail bond work for a guy that had a license. Sold door-to-door chemical salesman, selling bathroom cleaners and deodorizers. And but you talk about learning rejection. Being a door-to-door cold call salesman is the worst.
Yeah.
Answer phones for a karaoke place. Good morning. This is Just Go Karaoke. Can I help you? Hardware, or software. And I ran into a guy that was he was a hustler and a motivator, and he saw that I had a lot of personality, a lot of athletic talent. And he goes, "What are you doing?" Like he was a big Chicago Bears fan, and he wanted me to play football for the Bears. And he had some friends and was going to get me a tryout and like a walk-on thing, and maybe try to make the practice team and go from there, which was still would have been more money than I was making at the time. I mean, everything I owned, I carried in a laundry basket. I didn't have anything. And he says, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, I've always been a wrestling fan. I grew up in the South. I was a huge fan of Ric Flair. I love the Four Horsemen. I love Tommy Wildfire Rich and Dusty Rhodes. And I remember the WWF stuff back then with Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff and Andre, of course. I remember seeing the honeycomb commercials with Andre, which I was fortunate enough to be on a honeycomb box as well. So it's funny how life turns out.
Paul, I've got to ask you, so I'm running out of time. I could talk to you all day. I have so many questions. But look, this AEW show is going to be the best wrestling show in the UK has seen.
It's going to be amazing.
Just tell us again where we can find it and what we're going to be looking forward to.
Well, this is our AEW. We're coming over August 28th, Wembley. I'm sure if you go to AEW, they've got all the tickets, info, and all that stuff. But what you're going to see, this is one of the biggest shows for AEW branching outside the U.S., start to work on our international market. And coming here to London, UK, just shows how strong the fans are for us over here. To have that sold 77,000 tickets, I believe, already just on brand name alone. Hey, AEW is coming. Boom, here's 77,000 tickets sold. So we're going to have to bring probably the most intense, best show possible. Because one thing I've told those in our group that haven't had the opportunity to work in front of the London, UK fans, I said they're going to come out, they're going to have high energy, they're going to know the product. Yeah. We're going to have to bring them one hell of a show and deliver.
It's going to be a big show.
So I think everybody on my end at AEW, they're super excited for the opportunity. They're super excited to meet the London fans. And I'm happy to come over here and see this and hopefully become a part of it and get out there and hear those UK fans chant.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.